So recently I was scrolling through YouTube and found that really interesting video called No One Choose to Exist. In short, it was about a bay of turtles that was surrounded by tall rocks in all directions, so they couldn't get out. And the only possibility to escape is to reproduce a lot, so that the turtles could stack on top of each other, and the elders could escape. And this is basically forcing the new turtles into the same problem as their parents had, because if they grow up, they will eventually try to solve this problem as well with reproducing, so that they could get out once they are elders as well. And this is basically a cycle that goes on for infinity, because no one chooses to exist, and this decision is always made by someone else. And this made me think about myself too. If I could choose to exist, what would I do? And this question was on repeat in my head for days. What if the turtles stopped reproducing to prevent more suffering? What if the outside of the pit equals not existing? What if existing means to suffer? What are humans meant to do? And what is even life about? Wait a moment, did I lock my car? Well, overwhelmed by all of these questions, I spontaneously decided to drive to a location I wanted to go now for quite some time, just to get out and maybe to find an answer to all of these questions. A few minutes before I arrived, I noticed that I need to drive a bit through the forest, which was at this time basically flooded with mud, and a storm let some trees fall on the street, which kind of ruined my plans. So it seems like I'm in the middle of nowhere and a tree is blocking the street. I mean, you can't even call this a street. And yeah, I'm absolutely not sure what to do now. I mean, I could try to turn around, but that's probably not a good idea, so yeah. So I managed to get away from this tree and drive a bit back. But I definitely have to find now a spot to turn around. And I'm not sure if I should just leave my car here in this position right there and then walk the rest to this location. I mean, would be probably half an hour or so, but just turning around now and then driving home just doesn't feel right at all. So I think I'm there. I just saw a bit from the location through the trees, and yeah, finally made it. And there I am at this old railway bridge, which probably doesn't seem too spectacular, but for me it felt so refreshing to get out and explore something new and just being all by myself and thinking about my own existence. So sometimes I feel like life is something really beautiful. I mean, just perceiving the world with all your senses and feeling all of these emotions is such a mystical and beautiful thing, because outside of our head there aren't any emotions, there aren't any smells, and there aren't any colors. It's just all in your head, and sometimes it can be really overwhelming, and then I'm not sure why not choosing to not exist. I mean, so you could escape this massive emotions. I know it sounds very depressing, but yeah, you get the point. So what I was trying to say is that choosing to not exist would free yourself from all your emotions, and even though we are feeling top of the world if we are happy, Sadness will always be an inevitable counterplayer, kind of pushing us from emotion to emotion our whole life, and it just feels like this cycle never leads anywhere. So I'm finally back here. Finally. The way back was extremely muddy. Yeah, and climbing up this little mountain made it worse. So one time I completely slipped into the mud, and then after that my shoes completely sinked into the mud, and they're looking like this. Yeah, so I'm really happy I'm finally back here. Even though this trip doesn't seem too special, for me it definitely was. I mean, just doing something spontaneous and random all by myself and making the best out of this shitty conditions there showed me that life can't always be happy and good, and that's totally okay, because it just lets me value things so much more if I'm not afraid to feel sad or anxious, but just appreciate every moment as it's all part of the experience existing. But did this trip change my mind and I would choose to exist? To be honest, I still don't know. Recently I found myself just trying so hard to find an answer, but maybe it's just the wrong question. I mean, nobody has actually the choice, and in order to decide you already have to exist. So actually this question is kind of nonsense, but what I know is that we have so much choices ahead of us which are way more important than this one.